Hi guys, Richard here for another Haltech workshop feature. Today we're at Chequered Tuning in Keysborough to say g'day to our mates Trent and Kat. Well Trent, thanks for having us here at Chequered Tuning. Can you give us a bit of an idea how you sort of got started in the tuning scene? How did that come to be?
Well, being an apprentice, and like most car guys, you know, when you start out, no one's got any money. So, yeah, I used to work for free after hours sweeping floors at someone's workshop.
And this was back in the early 90s?
Yeah, early 90s. Yeah, had an old Brougham with an engine, first engine that I built, nitrous and all that sort of stuff, and had really basic understanding of how to tune it, but had no dyno tuning or jet changing experience.
A Brougham being a Holden.
Yeah, an old Holden Brougham.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. So old 308 carby.
It was a bit weird. It was a 253, but yeah, 250 shot of nitrous and all that sort of stuff. Back in the day, I think it was like 94, 95. I think it ran at 12.2, which is not too bad for a big old girl with a 253 in it.
A fast streetcar back in the day, yeah.
It wasn't too bad.
Awesome. And is tuning mostly what you do now?
Actually, tuning is all we do now. We don't do any mechanical work. We tune for about 21 workshops. That obviously changes as the years sort of go by. Some come, some go. But yeah, we literally do a bit of carby tuning stuff for people, but mostly electronic tuning.
So you've been involved in the tuning scene right from the beginning of sort of EFI. What have you seen change most in that time, do you think? What's been the biggest advancements?
Obviously components, faster, better, more reliable, but I think the ability to take control of better individual components as well, so better injectors, things, you know, who would have thought that you could have a 2500cc injector on 98 and still have the thing idle perfectly, whereas, sort of even 10, 15 years ago, the thing would idle like a pig, and, you just wouldn't have the drivability that you can have now with such an extreme setup. So you can go a lot further and still have the car drive very mild-mannered.
So you really can run a big power sort of drag car type thing as a street car.
Yeah.
They work as well as each other.
Yeah, I suppose a good example of it is the big blown sort of methanol cars where they're injecting above the injector, whereas now, you can do some up the top to cool the blowers and have port injection below, and you don't have that burp type idle, and you don't have the surge. I mean, some people love the surge.
I thought that was cool.
Well, look, some people build it to do that, but if you want a fully functional car that you want to be able to idle around in the car park or something like that, you can actually go in that direction now, whereas before you had no choice. It was what it is what it is. Whereas now, especially with newer technology, all the trimming, all the even integration of CAN from a lot of these more technically advanced cars, you can actually interface with the car and not have a Christmas tree of a dash. It's good. Yeah.
So you just touched on CAN there. It's something we're seeing a lot more in the more modern cars. That is, explain it to me a bit better. It's where the whole car is sort of has a communication system that goes back to the ECU that tells it to.
Yeah, so it's like a big chain network, where every individual module, the gearbox talks to the dash talks to the stereo and the dash need to talk to the air conditioning unit, and obviously the engine needs to as well. I mean, even in our car, it talks to the headlights and tells it what to do in regards to steering inputs and all that sort of stuff.
So you only do tuning, and you've said that you work for 21 workshops, so obviously there's a lot of experience there in tuning. Tell me, what are the highs and lows that you come across?
I suppose it'd be the same with anyone that does a lot of tuning. We generally do 3, maybe 4 cars a day. And most of the shortcomings would usually be in hardware, I suppose. Someone buying cheap copy injectors or a copy airflow meter or a dodgy fuel pump or something. I mean, everyone would have the same issues, but there's just so many replica parts and poor parts out there. It's very frustrating to get a car on the dyno and the customer doesn't understand that you can't tune for rubbish, I suppose. Like you can't get a result no matter what time you spend on it. It is just a matter of having to swap out parts and getting it to where it needs to be.
So there's some things that you just can't tune around.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Like if you get a car in with let's say a copy airflow meter or a copy map sensor, the signal is just so far from where it needs to be. I mean, it's not uncommon for these Z32 airflow meters to max out at 150 kilowatts, which is less than the stock airflow meter. And you don't really know these things until you get the car in here. I mean, we try and check it before it goes on the dyno, but sometimes the replicas are very good.
What about the good stuff? Like, what do you really love about tuning?
The variety of engines, like, you know, we might start the morning off with a 4AGE with ITBs and end the day with a, 450 kilowatt, LS or Barra or, even like what's in there now, like a Skyline. So the variety is definitely the most fun part of the business. And it is a little bit like a Kinder Surprise for me because Kat looks after all the bookings and I get to check it at the end of the week and, you get pretty excited about what could come up in the next week as well.
So you mentioned your partner, Kat. She's also quite well known in the motorsport scene.
Yeah, well, she was Australia's first female drifter and I suppose our first international drifter as well. She's drifted in Chile and Norway, China, Japan as well. So she's done a fair bit of travelling. She was ranked at one time 4th best drifter in the country as well. So yeah, she can definitely drive.
So Trent, you said this Skyline is the type of thing you really enjoy tuning. Tell me, what's so special about it?
Justin's had this for a long time. It was primarily his Streetcar, and we've seen it progress. I think the first time we tuned it was in 2008, and we've seen it progress to the point where it is now, and the sort of lap times that he's doing in it. It's actually a very quick circuit car for what is basically a road chassis.
When you're tuning something like this, that's a very fast circuit car, but also a street car, what sort of challenges do you come up against?
Well, a lot of the street ECUs tend to use an airflow meter, and reversion becomes a bit of a problem with big camshafts and big turbos and so forth. With this particular car, we moved across to a Haltech Elite, which no longer has an airflow meter.
And what is reversion, for one?
Well, a lot of instances, the airflow meter will be before the turbo, and you hear that dosing sound. You tend to get like a heartbeat from the airflow meter, which makes it go rich, lean, rich, lean. You can move it into the piping, which does get rid of that, but it also changes the resolution.
And then moving to something like Haltech, which works off a map sensor, is better because...
Well, you can eliminate the reversion issues. So we can run it just off map, or in the case of a GDR, we can run throttle position versus map. And it just gives you a far cleaner signal to tune against.
Well, Trent, thanks for having us here at Chequered Tuning and showing us what you do.
No worries. Thank you very much for dropping past.
Cheers. Well, my name is Richard. That's another Haltech workshop feature. Remember, if you've got a workshop and you're doing some cool stuff with Haltech, we'd love to come and see you. Just drop us a line through our webpage. Until next time.